Hey Switch fans, welcome back to Switch Top. 2026 is shaping up to be an absolutely massive year for Nintendo, with games dropping on both the Switch and the Switch 2. We've got everything from brand new IPs to beloved franchises returning with fresh ideas. Let's jump right into the top 20 most exciting games coming this year. Dispatch is an upcoming narrative-driven strategy adventure arriving on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 in late January 2026. Set in a modern, superhero-filled Los Angeles, the game puts you in the role of Robert Robertson, a former hero known as Mecha Man, who, after losing his suit, is reassigned to a desk job at a superhero dispatch network. Instead of direct combat, gameplay revolves around managing a roster of flawed but charismatic heroes, deciding who to send to emergencies across the city while considering their abilities, personalities, and cooldowns. Missions unfold through branching dialogue, choice-driven scenarios, and light strategic decision-making, with occasional minigames and quick-time events adding pacing and variety. Your decisions influence mission outcomes, team morale, workplace relationships, and long-term story paths, giving the experience a strong, replayable structure. The tone blends superhero tropes with workplace comedy, focusing on character interactions, sharp writing, and situational humor rather than action spectacle. On Switch, the game targets a smooth handheld experience, while the Switch 2 version benefits from enhanced resolution and performance.
Is that your car?
I don't have a car.
That's gonna be a weird insurance claim.
The way things are going, I'd cut the whole damn team.
All of you in this room have set this program ablaze.
Splatoon Raiders is a brand new Splatoon spin-off planned for release in 2026 on Nintendo Switch 2, with no exact launch date confirmed yet. Unlike the mainline entries focused on competitive multiplayer, Splatoon Raiders shifts the series toward a more story-driven, exploration-heavy experience. You play as a mechanic who joins forces with the Deep Cut trio, Shiver, Fry, and Big Man, on an expedition to the mysterious Spiralite Islands, a previously unexplored region in the Splatoon universe. Gameplay is expected to blend action and exploration, adapting familiar ink-based mechanics to traversal, environmental interaction, and combat scenarios designed around single-player progression rather than online matches. Early information suggests an emphasis on discovering island secrets, completing missions, and unraveling the mystery behind the islands, giving the narrative more weight than typical Splatoon campaigns. While Nintendo has yet to fully detail systems like mission structure, combat depth, or progression mechanics, the project is positioned as the first standalone Splatoon title outside the core series, aiming to expand the franchise in a fresh direction.
What you just witnessed are signs of the first ever Splatoon spin-off game coming ashore. Splatoon Raiders. Playing as a mechanic, you'll go on an adventure in the mysterious Spiralite Islands alongside Deep Cut.
Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is an upcoming platform adventure scheduled to release in spring 2026, launching on Nintendo Switch 2 as part of Nintendo's next wave of first-party titles. The game centers on Yoshi after a strange, sentient book known as Mr. Encyclopedia falls onto his island, its pages filled with sketches, but missing the knowledge behind them. Drawn into the book's world, Yoshi explores storybook-style chapters that function as themed levels, each introducing new creatures, mechanics, and environmental puzzles. Gameplay blends classic side-scrolling platforming with exploration-focused progression, encouraging players to experiment with Yoshi's familiar abilities, jumping, fluttering, egg throwing, and carrying allies, while adapting them to new, context-sensitive interactions tied to the book's creatures. Learning how these creatures behave is key to solving puzzles, opening hidden paths, and completing encyclopedia entries that drive narrative and progression forward. Visually, the game leans into a handcrafted, illustrated aesthetic inspired by pop-up books and hand-drawn art, giving levels a tactile, animated storybook feel rather than a fast-paced arcade tone.
We found some dandelions. Touch them, and they'll scatter in the air. Oh no! That creature is stuck. It seems like the dandelions can absorb nutrients. Oh, they can even cause rocks to crack. Thanks to them.
Starsand Island is a cozy life simulation RPG set to release on February 1st, 2026, arriving on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 alongside other platforms. The game invites players to leave city life behind and return to a peaceful seaside island, blending familiar life sim mechanics with a more open, anime-inspired world. Core gameplay focuses on farming, fishing, gathering resources, and crafting tools, furniture, and buildings as you gradually restore and customize your homestead. Beyond daily routines, Starsand Island places strong emphasis on social systems, allowing players to build friendships and romantic relationships with island residents, whose personalities and emotions evolve based on interaction choices. Exploration plays a major role, with a large island featuring seasonal changes, dynamic weather, hidden ruins, and mysterious zones like the Moonlit Forest that introduce light combat encounters and narrative intrigue. Movement around the island is intentionally playful, offering options such as skateboards, scooters, and jet skis to encourage free-form exploration. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is an upcoming cinematic action-adventure scheduled to release on Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026, bringing the iconic archaeologist to Nintendo's next-gen hardware. Set in 1937, between the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, the story follows Indiana Jones as he travels across the globe to uncover the truth behind the mysterious Great Circle, a chain of ancient sites linked by a hidden power sought by dangerous enemies. Gameplay is presented primarily from a first-person perspective, blending immersive exploration with stealth, puzzle solving, and hand-to-hand combat, while still shifting perspectives when needed for cinematic moments. Players use Indy's signature whip not only as a weapon, but also as a traversal tool to swing across gaps, disarm foes, and interact with the environment. Levels are designed as large, semi-open locations, such as historic cities, jungles, and ruins, that reward curiosity with optional paths, environmental puzzles, and side objectives tied to archaeology and discovery. Combat encourages improvisation, mixing melee, stealth takedowns, and environmental interaction rather than constant gunplay.
You're messing with powers beyond your control.
You should know by now. I am always in control.
You're good at this.
Monster Hunter Stories 3: Twisted Reflection is an upcoming turn-based RPG set to release on March 13th, 2026, launching on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 as the next major entry in Capcom's Monster Hunter Stories subseries. Unlike the action-focused mainline games, Twisted Reflection centers on the role of a rider who forms deep bonds with monsties, raising and fighting alongside them in strategic, turn-based battles. Combat revolves around the familiar power, speed, and technical triangle, encouraging careful prediction of enemy moves, coordinated rider and monstie skills, and powerful combo attacks that reward synergy and planning. Outside of combat, the game emphasizes exploration across a colorful, interconnected world threatened by a mysterious phenomenon known as the Crystal Encroachment, which is destabilizing ecosystems and fueling tension between rival nations. The story weaves personal character arcs with larger political and environmental conflicts, focusing on ancient legends, the awakening of powerful monsters, and the consequences of imbalance between humans and nature. Players can customize monsties through expanded growth systems, skills, and abilities, allowing for flexible team building and long-term progression. Pragmata is an upcoming sci-fi action-adventure scheduled to release on April 24th, 2026, launching on Nintendo Switch 2 alongside other platforms. Developed by Capcom, the game tells a story-driven journey set on a lonely lunar research station controlled by a hostile artificial intelligence. Players follow Hugh, a spacefarer stranded on the moon, and Diana, a mysterious android child with advanced system hacking abilities, as they work together to survive and find a way back to Earth. Gameplay is presented from a third-person perspective and blends real-time action with tactical decision-making, placing equal importance on combat, positioning, and problem-solving. Battles revolve around a dual character system, where Hugh handles movement, shooting, and mobility tools like jet-assisted traversal, while Diana hacks enemy systems through grid-based puzzles that weaken defenses and expose vulnerabilities in real time. This creates a deliberate combat flow that rewards planning rather than pure reflexes. Exploration and traversal also emphasize cooperation, with Diana unlocking paths and manipulating the environment, while Hugh navigates vertical, sci-fi spaces filled with mechanical threats. Elden Ring Tarnished Edition is the Nintendo Switch 2 release of From Software's acclaimed open-world action RPG, scheduled to arrive in 2026 after additional development time to optimize performance on Nintendo hardware. This edition delivers the complete Elden Ring experience, bundling the base game set in the vast and interconnected lands between with its major expansion content and added customization options. Players take on the role of a Tarnished, an exiled warrior drawn back to a broken realm to seek the shattered Elden Ring and carve a personal path toward power or purpose. Gameplay blends demanding real-time combat with deep RPG systems, allowing flexible character builds through weapon choice, magic, armor, and stat progression, while emphasizing precise timing, positioning, and enemy awareness. Exploration is fully open-ended, encouraging travel on foot or horseback across sprawling fields, legacy dungeons, hidden catacombs, and towering castles, with optional bosses, secrets, and NPC questlines organically woven into the world. Storytelling remains subtle and atmospheric, delivered through environmental details, cryptic dialogue, and item descriptions rather than direct exposition.
Champion or a lord to be born.
Orbitals is an upcoming cooperative adventure puzzle game scheduled to release in 2026 exclusively on Nintendo Switch 2. Set aboard a collapsing space station caught in the grip of a mysterious cosmic phenomenon, the game follows two explorers, Maki and Omura, whose survival depends on trust, coordination, and problem-solving rather than combat. Gameplay is built entirely around asymmetrical co-op mechanics, with each character possessing distinct tools and abilities that must be used together to overcome environmental puzzles, navigate hazardous space zones, and restore failing systems. Players can team up locally or online, and success relies heavily on communication, timing, and shared decision-making, as challenges are designed to be unsolvable alone. Exploration blends light platforming with puzzle-driven progression, encouraging experimentation across interconnected sci-fi environments inspired by retro anime aesthetics. Storytelling unfolds through handcrafted animated cutscenes and in-game interactions, focusing on themes of partnership, isolation, and survival in deep space, rather than high-stakes action. Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties is an upcoming action-adventure package scheduled to release on February 12, 2026, launching on Nintendo Switch 2 with a fully rebuilt remake and a brand new story experience. The collection includes Yakuza Kiwami 3, a modern remake of the original Yakuza 3, reimagined with upgraded visuals, smoother animations, and refined combat that stays true to the series' signature third-person brawler style. Players follow Kazuma Kiryu as he splits his life between the quiet responsibility of running an orphanage in Okinawa and the violent power struggles of Tokyo's criminal underworld, blending heartfelt character moments with intense street combat. The remake expands side activities, minigames, and exploration, reinforcing the series' contrast between everyday life and organized crime. Alongside it is Dark Ties, a new companion campaign focused on Yoshitaka Mine, exploring his transformation and inner conflicts through an original narrative. This mode introduces distinct combat pacing, unique missions, and challenge-driven encounters such as arena-style battles that emphasize survival and tactical play. The Duskbloods is an upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive action RPG from Software, scheduled to launch in 2026, with the exact release date still unannounced. Unlike the studio's traditionally single-player-focused titles, the Duskbloods shifts toward a multiplayer-driven structure that blends P versus E and P versus P within large-scale online encounters supporting up to 8 players. Players take on the role of the Bloodsworn, vampire-like warriors endowed with supernatural abilities, each bringing distinct combat styles, powers, and tactical roles to the battlefield. Matches unfold in dark, gothic environments inspired by Victorian-era architecture, where cooperation and rivalry coexist as players battle hostile enemies while also competing against one another for dominance. Central to progression is the pursuit of First Blood, a high-stakes objective that determines victory and unlocks deeper layers of power, customization, and lore. Combat emphasizes From Software's signature weight, precision, and risk-reward design, adapted to unpredictable multiplayer scenarios where player behavior is as dangerous as the environment itself.
I pray that you are able, carrier of blood.
Reanimal is an upcoming atmospheric horror adventure set to release on February 13th, 2026, launching on Nintendo Switch 2 alongside other platforms. Developed by Tarsier Studios, the creators behind Little Nightmares, the game follows a brother and sister trapped in a twisted, nightmarish version of their homeland as they search for missing friends and attempt to escape the island alive. Gameplay focuses on survival, exploration, and cooperative puzzle solving rather than direct combat, placing heavy emphasis on tension, vulnerability, and environmental storytelling. Players must work together to navigate claustrophobic spaces, avoid grotesque creatures, and solve puzzles that often require precise coordination, timing, and mutual awareness. The experience supports both co-op play and solo play, with an AI-controlled sibling assisting when playing alone. Exploration is semi-open, with the early introduction of a boat allowing access to optional locations, hidden routes, and unsettling side areas that deepen the narrative and atmosphere. The story unfolds subtly through visual cues, sound design, and environmental details, creating a constant sense of unease without relying on exposition. Mario Tennis Fever is an upcoming arcade-style sports title set to release on February 12, 2026, launching exclusively on Nintendo Switch 2 as the next evolution of the Mario Tennis series. The game keeps the familiar foundation of accessible yet skill-based tennis gameplay, including topspins, slices, lobs, volleys, and precise court positioning, while introducing a new fever system that reshapes match flow. As rallies progress, players build a fever gauge that can be spent on powerful fever shots, each tied to unique fever rackets that alter gameplay with special effects, encouraging tactical momentum shifts rather than constant power plays. With the largest roster in the series so far, Mario Tennis Fever offers a wide range of characters with distinct playstyles, supporting both casual matches and competitive depth. Alongside classic modes like tournaments and online ranked play, the game adds experimental rule sets, challenge-based modes, and courts filled with playful hazards inspired by Mario's universe. A new adventure mode brings light narrative structure, tasking players with regaining lost tennis skills through themed challenges and boss-style encounters, adding progression to the single-player experience.
It's tennis with a twist, so grab your...
Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition is the definitive version of Bethesda's open-world RPG, scheduled to release on Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026, marking the first time Fallout 4 arrives on a Nintendo platform. This edition includes the full base game alongside all major expansions, such as Far Harbor, Nuka World, and Automatron, plus a large collection of Creation Club content that adds new quests, weapons, settlement items, and gameplay features. Set in the post-nuclear Commonwealth, the story follows the sole survivor, emerging from a vault decades after a nuclear apocalypse to search for lost family while navigating a fractured world shaped by rival factions, moral choices, and survival struggles. Gameplay blends first-person and third-person combat with deep RPG systems, allowing players to define their playstyle through special stats, perks, weapons, armor, and dialogue options. Exploration is a core pillar, encouraging discovery across ruined cities, irradiated wastelands, and hidden locations filled with emergent stories and side quests. Settlement building adds a creative layer, letting players construct and manage communities that impact the world and its inhabitants. "007 First Light" is an upcoming action-adventure title set to release on May 27, 2026, launching on Nintendo Switch 2 after a short delay to ensure additional polish. Developed by IO Interactive, The game presents a standalone origin story focused on a younger James Bond at the beginning of his MI6 career, before earning his legendary 00 status. Gameplay blends third-person stealth, gunplay, and espionage-driven systems, giving players freedom to approach missions through silent infiltration, gadget-based problem-solving, social manipulation, or direct action. Levels are designed around player choice and tactical planning, with open-ended spaces that reward observation, timing, and creative use of tools rather than pure reflexes. Bond's iconic gadgets evolve throughout the story, expanding traversal options, stealth techniques, and combat flexibility, while cinematic set pieces such as vehicle chases and high-risk infiltrations add spectacle without overwhelming player control. The narrative follows Bond's early assignments across diverse global locations, weaving personal growth with espionage intrigue and introducing familiar MI6 figures alongside new allies and antagonists.
Any sage advice?
Too nice?
The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, is an upcoming action RPG scheduled to release in 2026 on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. Developed by Square Enix's Team Asano and presented in a refined HD 2D art style that blends pixel characters with richly layered 3D environments. The game follows Elliot, a young adventurer accompanied by a fairy named Faye, as they explore the dangerous continent of Philadelphia, a land where humanity survives behind a magical barrier separating it from hostile beast tribes. Gameplay is built around real-time, top-down action combat, rather than turn-based systems, emphasizing movement, timing, and weapon choice. Elliot can wield multiple weapon types, such as swords, bows, and sickles, each upgradable and customizable through magicite fragments that add elemental effects and combat modifiers. Exploration plays a major role, with open regions, ruins, dungeons, and environmental puzzles encouraging curiosity and discovery. Faye actively supports gameplay by assisting in combat, collecting items, and solving puzzles, and can even be controlled by a second player for optional co-op play.
Or two players can control them at the same time. You'll find that she's very helpful on your adventure. Join Elliot and Faye on a grand journey that, unknown to them, will span 1,000.
Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is an upcoming mainline entry in Nintendo's tactical RPG series, scheduled to release on Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026, with a precise date yet to be announced. The game returns to classic, grid-based, turn-based strategy combat, emphasizing positioning, terrain advantages, weapon interactions, and careful unit synergy. Set in a new era within a familiar world, the story revolves around the Heroic Games, a grand tournament orchestrated by a mysterious divine sovereign who promises to grant the winner their deepest wish. This premise draws together a diverse cast of warriors, each driven by personal ambitions such as redemption, survival, or power, creating a narrative shaped by shifting alliances and political intrigue. Gameplay builds on Fire Emblem's foundations with unit classes, support relationships that strengthen bonds and unlock combat bonuses, and optional permadeath for long-term consequences. New mechanics teased so far hint at expanded weapon arts and tactical abilities that can alter the battlefield, such as coordinated unit techniques and movement-based skills that reward forward planning.
It is imperative that I face it again. I must cull it with this blade.
My full strength.
There's a man I hate so much that simply killing him will not satisfy.
Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is set to launch on January 22nd, 2026, bringing the definitive version of Square Enix's acclaimed reimagining to Nintendo Switch 2. This edition retells the opening chapter of the legendary Final Fantasy VII story, focusing on the city of Midgar, where mercenary Cloud Strife joins the eco-resistance group Avalanche in their fight against the Shinra Electric Power Company and its exploitation of the planet's resources. Gameplay blends real-time action with strategic, command-based mechanics, allowing players to freely move and attack while pausing to issue abilities, spells, and items through the active time battle system. Players can switch between party members in combat, customize builds using the materia system, and summon powerful entities to turn the tide of battle, creating a balance between reflex-driven action and tactical planning. The Intergrade release includes Episode Intermission, a standalone story chapter starring Yuffie Kisaragi that introduces new gameplay mechanics, enemies, and narrative context that ties into the main plot. Enhanced visuals, performance improvements, and quality of life options make the experience more accessible without sacrificing depth.
You're not real. You're dead.
This planet is my birthright.
I don't believe it. We played right into Shinra's hands.
The future is in...
Dragon Quest VII Reimagined is an upcoming reimagining of the classic JRPG, scheduled to release in 2026 on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, bringing one of the longest and most story-driven Dragon Quest entries to modern hardware. This version revisits the original tale of a quiet fishing village whose inhabitants believe their island is the only land in the world, until ancient ruins reveal portals to forgotten continents erased from history. Gameplay preserves the series' traditional turn-based combat, party management, and deep class system, while streamlining progression, pacing, and interface elements to better suit contemporary players. Exploration remains central, with players traveling between past and present timelines to restore lost regions, resolve conflicts, and slowly reshape the world based on their actions. The job system allows characters to master multiple vocations, unlocking abilities that encourage long-term planning and flexible party builds. Storytelling focuses on episodic arcs tied to each restored land, blending lighthearted charm with surprisingly mature themes of loss, responsibility, and change. Resident Evil Requiem is the next mainline entry in Capcom's long-running survival horror series, scheduled to release on February 27, 2026, launching on Nintendo Switch 2 alongside other platforms. Set decades after the fall of Raccoon City, the story follows FBI analyst Grace Ashcroft as she investigates a new biohazard outbreak tied to the abandoned Wrenwood Hotel, the site of her mother's death, drawing her into a deeply personal and increasingly horrifying mystery. The narrative also reconnects with series veteran Leon S. Kennedy, whose involvement introduces a second perspective and expands the scope of the unfolding crisis. Gameplay is built around a dual protagonist structure, with Grace's sections leaning into classic survival horror, limited ammunition, puzzle solving, stealth, and constant tension, while Leon's gameplay emphasizes more assertive action, including melee counters, parries, and fluid combat encounters. Players can switch between first-person and third-person perspectives, allowing flexibility in how fear, exploration, and combat are experienced. Resource management, environmental puzzles, and enemy encounters are tightly integrated with storytelling, using decaying locations and unsettling enemy design to reinforce psychological dread.
レオンの方はというとバイオ4に代表されるような緊張感はすごい高いんですけども、そこまでその恐怖に特化してない、アクションも楽しめるサバイバルホラー、レオンにふさわしい体験が作れてるんじゃないかなとは思ってて、グレースのホラーとそのレオンのアクション。
And there you have it, the top 20 most exciting Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 games coming in 2026. If you found this helpful, smash that like button and subscribe to Switch Top for more Nintendo coverage throughout 2026. Until next time.